Lisa settled deeper into her seat while looking out the window. They were off the college campus now and moving onto the highway. Lisa and her husband Mike Lars had just dropped their youngest child, Samantha, at her new school. In just 2 weeks' time, they had gone from having a full house to being empty nesters. It was a bittersweet feeling, but also exciting at the same time. Mike and Lisa met their sophomore year of college, and Lisa had fallen desperately in love with him. They had been inseparable for the next 2 years and married the summer before their senior year. Mike was in a 5-year program to receive his MBA, so Lisa found a position teaching at a small private school while Mike finished his final year. Once he graduated, they moved to Mike's hometown where Mike joined his father's small company as a production manager. Mike's first paycheck came not a moment too soon. Their son Joshua was born 6 weeks after Mike started his new job. The young couple was ecstatic with their son and formed the picture of the happy young family. 2 years later, they were joined by Samantha. Everything was perfect. Lisa stayed at home until Samantha started school. Then she returned to the classroom taking a position as a 4th grade teacher in the same district that her children attended. Lisa loved working with children, and it helped fill her days while the kids were away in their own schools. Her father-in-law owned a small fabrication shop when Mike graduated. The elder Lars was an incredible engineer whose shop produced high-quality specialty parts for a number of industries, including for space applications. Their niche was low volume, high quality at a good cost point per unit. Low volume meant the per unit cost was higher, but Lars manufacturing routinely beat out their competition on the quality, even at a higher price point. Mike and his father formed a great team. Where John Lars was a great engineer, he was not a skilled businessman. Mike knew enough engineering to speak intelligently, but he didn't inherit his father's gift and passion. However, Mike was a great business mind. Mike handled sales, negotiations, and supply chain, leaving his father free to design and invent. Mike was able to reduce their prices while John kept up the quality. Together, they built Lars Manufacturing into the powerhouse in their niche. 6 years ago, tragedy struck when John Lars had a massive stroke and died at his desk. He was only 55 but was also overweight and smoked. He would loudly proclaim that eating and smoking helped him concentrate on his designs. It might have been true, but it also probably cost him his life. Mike took over full control of the business and hired 3 young engineers to fill John's role. 2 of these engineers were competent workers. The third, Tony Gillis, showed the same creative spark John had. After 2 years, Tony was named director of engineering and formed almost the same partnership Mike had with his dad. The biggest difference was John and Mike were family, so shared ownership responsibilities. Now with John gone, Mike assumed total ownership. This caused longer hours and more travel than ever before. Lisa looked over at her husband. At just 40, Mike still looked good. He'd learned from his father's example. His dark hair was just touched with gray, and he kept himself in shape. Never a runner, Mike preferred water sports such as whitewater rafting and scuba diving to keep active. Lisa was never that into getting wet, but was happy to lie out on the dive boat while Mike and their 2 kids did their dives. Not that Lisa let herself go. Long hours at the gym doing Pilates, Zumba, and yoga kept her in great shape. Lisa's 5 feet 5 inches trim figure, B-cup, and taunt ass turned heads wherever she went. A 4th grade teacher, Lisa was popular with the fathers on back-to-school nights. Having the kids off to college at once was a surprise. Josh graduated 3rd in his high school class and was accepted into the same engineering school his grandfather attended. The school focused on the practical and forced students to take 3 6-month co-ops during their 5-year program. Josh would finish the 5 years with his MS in nuclear engineering if he stayed on task. Yes, where his grandfather focused on practical mechanical engineering, Josh wanted something a bit flashier. But Josh wasn't the surprise. That was Samantha. Sam graduated a full 2 years early and pushed her older brother out of the 2nd place of their graduating class. Josh simply laughed and was proud of his baby sister. Sam had worked incredibly hard the last 3 years to graduate early, and he said she deserved it. Josh did tease her a bit about missing the valedictorian slot due to a B+ in an art class. Now Sam was starting a pre-med and molecular biology program at an Ivy League school. Lisa was happy for her daughter, but saddened that she would miss seeing her daughter have the traditional high school experience. Lisa was a bit biased, but was certain her daughter at 18 would be a sure winner for prom queen. They had grown apart a bit the last few years, and a part of Lisa wished to have those 2 years to re-establish her relationship with Sam. Lisa turned without a word to look back out the window. Things would be so different now. The next few weeks would be rough for everyone, but it had to be done. Any regrets? Mike asked. Lisa sighed. A few, but I'll live with them. It's time for a new chapter in our lives. Mike laughed. You make it sound like we're dying. Hell, with instant messaging and Skype, it will be almost like the kids have never left. That's true, Lisa agreed. During the next 4 hours of their drive, Lisa and Mike engaged casual conversations of a long-married couple. Neighborhood gossip, things around the house, and other mundane things. Today was a Thursday, and Mike had taken Friday off to do some things around the house, so Lisa was loading up the honey-do list. Finally, they arrived home, and Mike pulled the minivan into its slot in the garage. Normally, the 3-car garage housed the 2-year-old minivan, Mike's Camry, and the 2013 Corvette Mike bought himself. The Vet was a bone of contention for Lisa. Mike had simply shown up with it one night 2 years ago without a word to her. Mike said it was a gift for the company signing their largest contract to date on a large contractor on a NASA contract. Technically, it was owned by the company, so Lisa had limited room to complain. The kids had loved it immediately. Once the van was parked, Lisa pulled her slightly sore body out of the van. 8 hours in the car today, lugging all of Sam's stuff into her dorm, and the rough S the night before had Lisa dying for a hot shower in bed. I need to run out for milk, Mike said, even as he climbed out of the van also. Lisa groaned. Why didn't you stop on our way in? Their house was 10 minutes out of town, and they had passed 2 stores after they left the highway. You looked like you needed to get home, and I don't mind. Lisa felt a small bubble of gratitude at Mike's consideration. He was such a good man at times. I'm taking the Vet. It's a gorgeous night and a hell of a lot more fun to drive than that minivan. Lisa waved that off. Before Lisa was even in the house, Mike was in the car and pulling out of the garage. With a roar of the V8, he was gone. Lisa walked up to her room and undressed for her shower. She felt like she was missing something. Mike was such a great guy. In many ways, he was the perfect husband and father. But soon he would be gone and Lisa would be on her way to her new life. 3 years ago, Mike's constant travel was getting to her. The company was doing great. The kids were great, but Lisa felt alone. Intellectually, Lisa knew it wasn't Mike's fault after losing his dad, but emotionally, Lisa was feeling abandoned. One night when Mike was away and the kids were off with their friends, Lisa went to a restaurant with some fellow teachers. They had fun and a few bottles of wine to support that fun. On a whim, they carried on to the club next door. She'd been dancing with Bob Werner, a fellow teacher, when someone cut in. It was Tony Gillis, the engineer from Mike's company. Tony was a wonderful dancer, and Lisa had a great time. When the other teachers left, Lisa stayed to dance some more. When the night came to an end, Tony called her a cab to get her home. She gave him a warm hug and a peck on the cheek before climbing into the cab. A week later, Mike was again off on a trip, and Tony sent her a text inviting her out to another night of dancing. Lisa was thrilled and had another great night. She met several of Tony's friends, and they welcomed her to their group. Lisa felt more alive than since she and Mike were first married. Lisa knew it was harmless fun and innocent, but never mentioned it to Mike. It felt a bit naughty, and she saw it as her own little revenge for leaving her alone so often. The dancing became a regular event when Mike was on travel. Josh was involved in hockey, so was usually out for practices until 11 p.m. because they didn't get ice time until 9. He would go home after school, eat dinner, and be gone before Lisa was due home from school. So he never noticed Lisa's absences. Samantha was trickier. She wasn't into sports, so Lisa signed her up for a series of enrichment classes at the local community college. The classes were on different nights, so Lisa's nights out had no pattern. Plus, she never went on weeks when Mike was home. Tony was a blessing and became her best friend and confidant. He would sit at dinner before their dancing and listen to her talk about how Mike left her alone. She did admit with a shy smile how now with the dancing she looked forward to his absences. Tony was her rock. Hesitantly at first, Tony started to confess how he felt misused by Mike also. Tony opened up how Mike ignored good engineering to squeeze more profit out of the business, how Mike sold ideas Tony developed to their customers for huge money and never shared the proceeds with Tony. Lisa was furious on behalf of her new best friend, and wanted to confront Mike right away. Tony calmed her down, saying that legally Mike had him bound by a contract he'd signed when he first joined the company.